Hey Pitmasters, what is up? Today I'm going to show you the best way to grill your tomahawk ribeye. Today we're going to be grilling this beautiful bone-in ribeye. It's what we call a tomahawk. If you look at this beautiful piece of meat, you can see that we have a lot of marbling and a lot of fat in there. That's all flavor. As well, the color, it's almost yellow. This means we have a lot of dark, deep beef flavors. That's perfect for a steak. This steak is from the Rubia Gallega cow and it's born and raised in Galicia, Spain. They know a thing or two about creating a beautiful cut of beef. Look at it, it's 3-finger steak. This is closer to a roast at 1.2 kilograms. What a beauty. We want to cook this the best way possible. We're going to cook it over indirect heat, let it come up to temperature, and then put a beautiful sear on it. We're going to be cooking this steak on a Weber kettle grill and we need a lot of heat, so we're going to take these big chunks and fire them up. I like to use big block. It's Argentinian hardwood and this is the stuff that gives you the best result. It will give you heat, it will give you smoke, and it will retain the heat for a long time. If they're too big for you, you can break them up into smaller pieces, and the smaller pieces will help provide the heat equally, but it will also reduce the amount of duration that these provide you. I like to use these wood wool fire starters. They give you a lot of heat, but there's no flavor in there, so you get a clean burn. We are going to leave the lid open because we need a maximum amount of airflow to get these chunks of charcoal up to maximum heat. In the meantime, we're going to be tying up our steak because look at it. It looks real saggy. And even though that might seem as a bad thing, it's actually not. It means that your steak is tender. All the fibers in there are starting to break down because it's dry aged. And it becomes saggy, but we don't want that on our table. And what we definitely do not want is this falling apart on your grill. So we're going to tie it up with a bit of butcher's twine. We want to have sufficient length. So I'm taking double the amount that I think I need, and then I'm always in a good position. First we're going to connect the butcher's twine to the bone. Wrap the butcher's twine around the steak for the first time. Tie it all together. Underneath the bone, and then you're going in for the second time. When we've gone around it, we're going to properly secure it. When it's all tied up, slice off the end of the twine. Steak perfection. Ready to go on the grill. We're not going to be seasoning our steak up front. Pepper, garlic, it will all burn on the grill. That's why, first of all, we're going to put it in the grill over indirect heat and let it slowly come up to temperature. We'll put the grill grate on. As you can see, we created a direct zone and an indirect zone. Direct is where the charcoal is, and indirect is where that's the cool side. So we're going to start by putting our steak over the indirect heat. We're placing our steak on the grill with the bone protecting the meat from the direct heat that's coming off the charcoal. This way we don't get too much radiation on our meat and get it overcooked on one side. Now I like to add smoke flavor to my steak, so that's why we're going to add a chunk of smoke wood. What you got to be looking out for is that you take a chunk of smoke wood that fits the flavor profile of your steak. Take for instance oak, hickory, maybe some beech tree. That is the thing that works. What doesn't work is fruits like cherry and apple. Stay away from that. We're going to close the lid and let our steak smoke. My top vent is set to fully open and my bottom vent is set to half open. This technique is called the reverse sear. What it does is it slowly cooks your steak and prevents it from getting these long gray areas which are dry and flavorless. That's what we want to achieve. Cooking it slowly, nice and pink on the inside, no gray areas, and then the perfect sear on the outside. The upside of this technique is that there's very little moisture loss and it makes for a very juicy steak with a crunchy outside. We've been smoking our steak for half an hour now and I want to check on the color because we want to add smoke flavor and I expect to see color change. The fat has turned golden yellow and the meat has turned dark red. Almost close to brown, which means it's picking up a lot of flavor. What we're going to do is flip the steak around because the heat from the bottom is different than the heat from the top and we want it to cook evenly. Close the lid and let it continue to smoke. We reached the core temperature of 54 degrees Celsius, which means our steak is done. And I kept track of the temperature with a core thermometer like this. And what I especially like about these thermometers is that they're thin. And that means if I poke my meat, that you don't get these big holes. When you put a thermometer in with a thick probe and you leave it in there for a long time, you get a hole in your steak. So when you slice it up, you constantly see that hole and it doesn't look good. We're going to take our steak off the grill and let it rest for 10 minutes. And again, look at that beautiful mahogany color from the smoke. That is barbecue flavor. While our steak is resting, we're going to pile up that charcoal and make it blazing hot, so we get beautiful sear marks on our steak and get that caramelization that we're looking for. Our chunk of smoke wood isn't finished smoking yet, but we have no further use for it, so we're taking it off the grill. I'm moving out my grill grate and I'm placing all of the charcoal in the center of the grill. What we're looking for is a lot of heat, and the way I check this is with my hand. So I'm moving my hand over the fire, and then when I can't hold it there for longer than a second, I know I've got enough heat so we can safely put our steak on and get that beautiful sear on it. I don't want too much burnt fat, so we're getting these flames, but we don't want too much flames. I'm flipping it around so we're maximizing our caramelization. This is the important part because that's where the flavor is. Now that we've got this beautiful crust on the outside, we got it cooked perfectly on the inside, it's time to start slicing it up. We don't have to let the steak rest anymore. We did that in a previous step, and we just give it a quick sear, 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other side. So all it needs now is a little bit of salt. A thick cut like this deserves a little bit of salt on both sides. We want the flavor to be enhanced, and that's what you get from the salt. So it's boosting the beef flavors and it's bringing out the best of the steak. Time to start slicing into it. First, I'm going to take off the butcher's twine. Then I'm taking the steak off the bone. Make sure you take off the bone from the bottom. Now your tomahawk has turned into a ribeye and it's time to slice it. While you're slicing your steak, you want to make sure that you slice it in one movement. You want to prevent the sawing effect. That just makes your steak look horrible. And there you have it, a beautiful tomahawk ribeye. Pink from edge to edge with the smallest bit of gray you can have and a beautiful crust on the outside. If you follow this steak cooking method, you're guaranteed to score a 10 out of 10 each time you cook a steak. So while I'm enjoying this steak, make sure you hit that like button and leave me a comment down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you to all my patrons and my YouTube members, and see you guys next time. Until then, eet smakelijk and keep on grilling. I love steak.